Welcome into another episode of 4th and 5 presented by Ortho Arkansas. It's your boy DJ here with Josh. Josh, it's been a minute since we linked up and actually been on this thing together, and I figured it is about that time because things are about to start blowing up there at the University of Arkansas. Some good, some bad, some leaving people with a couple hesitancies. Just a lot of action going on. Still trying to figure. Now we know the coaches, at least two of them. One of them are staying. We're still up in the air. We know Coach Petrino is no longer a candidate for the job in Charlotte. We're going to talk about players transferring. Who do we think is going to stick around? Who are some guys that we need to stay, that coaches need to be on top of? We're going to kind of cover it all as we get into our viewer comments here today. But Josh, man, a lot going on in that locker room.
Yeah, there is a lot going on. And, you got to hate when you see your offensive coordinator, getting off of a plane in Charlotte, walking to go interview for another job. That's got to be something that just doesn't totally sit right. I hate that they had to do it. You know what? Why didn't they send a jet? Bobby, if they don't send you a jet, they don't really want you. Come on, man. You flying commercial, putting all that news in front of everybody. I didn't like that.
I'm not sure how all that works with the finances or anything is concerned. I know Charlotte apparently is an up-and-coming program and probably a good landing spot for, I would say, a coach trying to get that next step. And that's where it just kind of gets interesting with Coach Petrino. Of a lot of people have been saying, why would he go there? Because the big thing when he came to Arkansas was that offensive mind and that genius, and we've all talked about it, and he sometimes alluded to it himself, talking about it's kind of nice just focusing on offense, and a lot of people are saying, coaches like him, they don't want to have to deal with all this and deal with all that. And, he can just focus on the offense. And so why would he leave a program and all the resources that he has to then go right back to being a head coach and kind of just throwing away everything we said that was a perfect fit for him and just being the offensive coordinator here? Josh, to me, I think and I know he's a team player and he knows his role as an offensive coordinator and not the head coach. But I would, and I can't speak for him, and this is still just my opinion. But I think he may want to have full control again when it comes to decision making, when it comes to personnel, when it comes to how practice is supposed to be ran, when it comes to how physical one day is going to be, what's the next, what's the tone of the locker room, what are things he's going to like. You really can't do that as the assistant. You just have to go with the road that the offensive or the road the head coach puts you on. And I don't know if this is true. This is just speculation, but I don't know why else he would go to put all that stuff back up on his plate and start from scratch to go be a head coach. That would have to be it. Because you got to think at this point, Josh, what's Coach Petrino's goal here? His point in his career. Is he trying to get back to one of the top programs in the country? I don't think Charlotte is that. But I also know he's a little bit later in his career. Do I see him starting to do stepping stones to use this as a launching pad to get a job somewhere else? I don't know. I mean, it was just kind of confusing to me that he would just go there and kind of start over. The only thing that makes sense to me, Josh, is I think Coach Petrino likes things to be a certain way, and the only way for it to be the exact way he wants it to be would to be a head coach.
Yeah. DJ, do you remember any moments when you were playing for Coach Petrino when he spoke to the offensive coordinators about what he wanted during practice?
Yes.
I don't think Bobby Petrino wants to have the roles reversed. I think that he is just the type of guy that has a very specific way about him. And if you don't do it that way, you get cussed out. If you don't handle your business that way, you get your job threatened. And I'm not meaning that in a bad way. I'm just saying that is the type, that's the level and of perfection and expectation that type of guy has. And if Sam Pittman isn't on the same page with that, doesn't coach in that same style, I could see that Bobby Petrino being an offensive coordinator that would get frustrated with it, especially when it's his offense. He's out there. He wants to win the games. We saw what it was like at this Missouri game. You had Bobby Petrino down there on the sideline. What do you think he felt like? Hold on, baby. I got the reins again. I'm back in control of this thing, because Coach Sam Pittman was up there in the press box. He probably felt like it was his team down there again. And then, you got to come back to reality when you get back, or you either get back to practice for the following week, you get back to reality, or you're in those moments where game management happens and you got somebody in your ear going, no, we're not going to go for it. Or, yeah, we're going to go for it. Or, no, save the timeout. And you're going like, man, I want to run this team my way. There's a lot of those moments that we don't get to see that I guarantee you happen. Mm-hmm. And he is the type of guy that wants to be in the control. All guys that are built like that and wired like that want to be in control. I don't think the Charlotte thing, him flying over there, was anything, because honestly, I do think, hey, if a team wants you, don't they send private jets? Doesn't Hunter get on his private jet and go find coaches and go see coaches? Doesn't that happen? Private jets are a thing. Yeah. So I'm thinking, hey, he probably talked to his agent. He said, listen, you're 60-something years old. We got to get you a couple more paydays. And they're saying, let's do what's best for your pocketbook. Let's do what's best for the bank. Let's go take an interview. Let's leverage ourselves and make sure that we get the most out of this Arkansas situation. And I think it's a strategic move. You know what? When an athletic director knows that you are wanted and desired by other schools, they're going to come with their best foot forward. And I think that if anything, it could have just been a power move, a power play to strategically get yourself in a better position, maybe to get some conversations started about you being the head coach again later on after Sam retires. I don't know. But what I do know is that Bobby Petrino wants to be a head coach. It's in him. I don't care what he says. He can like just running the offense, but he wants to be a head coach. You know it.
Yeah, and like I said, these are just our opinions, and we don't really know what the structure of it looks like, how much Sam Pittman just says, hey, do whatever you want. I wouldn't want that from a head coach to just say, do whatever you want. I think there's a pecking order of things, and the head coach needs to have final say and have input of what everything looks like. I think that's just the way it's supposed to be built. And so, like I said, just very interesting when it came to that area. But go ahead.
I do want to tell you this. I do know, and I hate when media people do this, and I'm not a media guy. Like, this is just our podcast. But,
technically, you're a media guy now.
I guess technically I'm a media guy, right? But listen, yeah. I've had some people inside the facility that I do know. And back, I guess, what was it, 2023, when Dan Enos was here, and we had the Dan Enos issues. I was told, hey, Pittman's now stepping into these offensive meetings. He's going to be more hands-on. So what I do know is he's the type of he's the type of head coach that lets his offensive coordinators run the show. Yep. And that's a different type of head coach than what Bobby Petrino is. Bobby Petrino's type of head coach that he was involved in everything. I mean, Paul was running the offense, but I mean, it was Bobby's the whole time. Yeah. So I do know Sam Pittman is the type of guy that more of a politician, more of a GM type of head coach than he is actually hands-on coordinator. So,
no, you're right. And like I said, we're going to kind of dig into this a little bit more when it comes to coaching. Obviously, fan base is all over the place, and this is something I'm not the biggest fan of getting into, if a coach should be here or not, because it is what it is. We're just going to take what we got, and then we're going to talk about it here on 4th and 5. And there's no point of us speculating this and that, but we will pay attention to what the buzz is going around the university right now. And a lot of people torn and split, and it's going to pop up in our viewer comments. And as we take a closer look into our viewer comments, we also got to give a shout out to our sponsor who's taking a closer look into homes that you buy. Once again, I want to thank Patrick over there at Ellis Home Inspections, LLC, who's been with us from the get-go and made these viewer comments possible by being our sponsor for this segment each and every week. And we want to make sure y'all show him some love. And like I said, we don't like to get into business with people we don't think are legit, and going to make sure that if you reach out to them for their services, that they're going to take care of you. Patrick's going to take care of you. We said it all the time, over 2 decades of military service. And what comes with that, Josh, as we know, that's somebody who pays attention to the details. And I'm telling you, when you're buying a house and it's getting inspected, you want to pay attention to the details, because as soon as you sign that paper, 2 months later, something pops up that was missed. It's going to come out of your pocket. All right. So you want to be with people you can trust, people who's going to make sure they work for you and earn that pay once you sign that check, and make sure you have a good property. So reach out to Patrick if you have any needs. And Patrick, once again, I want to thank you personally for being a sponsor of these segments. And I know the year is coming to an end, and so we only got one more sponsored segment with a lot of our people. And so we're very thankful for all of them. All right, Josh, let's go ahead and get into more of these comments. This is going to be a little bit more on the staying with the coaching carousel. We're going to talk about people transferring and all that stuff too. But this is from, I love this username, White Boy Lost in the Blues. He says, I appreciate the podcast, great comments and appraisals of our team play. One question. Isn't penalties and turnovers directly related to coaching? I always understood that a coach's job is to teach a person how to play the game. Now, I'm also going to put that with another comment. This is from Matthew Ray, 8329. He says, watching undisciplined football is so frustrating. Sam Pittman was asked why his team leads the nation in fumbles, and his answer was, I don't know. If I knew, we'd fix it. Let's get into it. You want to start? You want me to go?
No, you go ahead because I want to know what you got. I want to know what you think about what Sam Pittman said.
That right there, I don't know if I knew we'd fix it. You got to think at this point, and this is where coaches just need to really do a little bit better job of taking time before they answer. Because when you say stuff like that, people are going to just go off and run with it, as they should. I don't think that's the best comment coming from your coach when addressing one of the biggest issues on your football team. How many times have we been in games where turnovers have just killed us? And you don't need your head coach saying, I don't know. If I knew, we'd fix it. That's not very promising. Ball security can be coached. It can be emphasized. It can be ingrained in all of your players' heads. And I noticed this once I got to the NFL, Josh. The emphasis on ball security, it almost made me anxious at practice. I was just like, oh, Lord, I got to make sure I don't fumble or drop a ball or somebody pops it out. I was always looking around. It was just such an emphasis at practice with drills just over and over and over to where in college, when I would get loose and I was running, I had a really bad habit of letting that ball kind of get away from my body, and I was kind of swinging it, and it ended up popping out twice in my football career. Now, thankfully, they were recovered by us, and I didn't lose any of the fumbles, but I just kind of got into a bad habit. But
played too much basketball.
I don't know what it is. It was just we get so focused on looking ahead of us, and we sometimes forget of all these other things going around us. But when I got to Green Bay, drills after drills after drills after drills after drills of ball security, I was just like, what is going on? And then you start seeing the level of play of those defenders in the NFL. Speed, size, power, athleticism, great tackling, and they do all that with always still trying to punch the ball out. It's all about the ball. It was ingrained in our mind. And the way you get that to happen is it has to be talked about at an extremely high level every single day. And it changes the way you protect the ball. Literally, my running style changed from loose to always right here. And then if I always was in the open, I just always made sure just in case something happened. You see our running backs a lot when they take on contact and they try to run someone over, they get their shoulders kind of over their knees and they kind of lean down to run somebody over. When they do that, if you look closely, you can go back and watch some tape. The ball goes from equal claw up here to where they kind of go like this. And then a helmet will hit right there, or a shoulder pad will hit right there. It happened to Jaquindon Jackson early this year. You can look at the Oklahoma State game for that. It happened to DeBinion against Missouri, same thing. And as soon as that ball comes down like that, it's exposed. And if you look at other running backs, unfortunately, who have fumbled before in the past, they start learning, I got to tighten this up. They go contact almost with both hands, and they'll just take the hit. And like I said, I feel like since you lead the nation in fumbles, you would have hoped that would have happened already, where the ball security is just at a different level, and it's not. Now, like I said, we are not at practice. They maybe are fixing all these drills. It would just be hard for me to understand that big of an emphasis is going on if you lead the country in fumbles. And so I think it is something that is fixable, and I would hope that he doesn't know not how to fix it, because that would be a problem.
Right. Be a huge problem. Now, I want to say something because we just got done talking about, Bobby Petrino having control over the offense, and we think that that's how he is as a coach, and Sam Pittman kind of taking a step back, more of a GM. Well, if that's the case, then Bobby Petrino is the one that's in control of this offense, practicing ball security day in and day out, which it surprises me that a Bobby Petrino offense has had this many fumbles. Whether you said 28 fumbles, it leads the nation. I would not think that as analytical, as in detailed as Bobby Petrino is about everything in his life in regards to football, that he would allow the team to get through this entire season showing, some ball security problems, get week 1, week 2, but then continue on the rest of the season and not have addressed this and fix this. It's actually very surprising to me. I don't know, but, to Pittman's comment, is it honesty? Is it not a good kind of leadership answer that you want from your head coach? That's up for debate. You guys can talk about that. But it's still his responsibility because the buck stops with the head coach to figure that out. I think that it raises some questions about whether or not that, he's implemented what it takes day in and day out, week in and week out to fix this issue. But I think more than anything, what bothers me about it is, the message to the players that comes across if I was in the locker room is like, man, coach don't know how to fix this problem. That's what would come off to me a little bit, just in the way that he kind of like nonchalantly answers the question. Now, I don't want to, because that could just be a media answer, right? I mean, these coaches give the coach speak, and that's just what they do sometimes because, they don't want to sit here and waste their time in the media room talking to you about fumbles. But I don't know. I worry about a little bit of that, but it does, I think that type of stuff plays into like the new era of NIL. How you handle and address fumbles in a media room plays over into what recruits think, what the media thinks, the message that's out there about your team and your organization. If any time now more than ever, Sam Pittman is a politician for the Arkansas Razorbacks, and he's making people want to come here and play here. And I think that he needs to embrace that when he gets in front of a microphone, because I think he genuinely probably is putting forth the effort to fix this. A fumble's a fumble. Matt Harris always says it's a weird shaped ball, right? You just, and sometimes
bounce funny.
They do. And sometimes flags fly funny too when it comes to penalties. But you know what? When you're on your P's and Q's week in and week out addressing this as a coach, it tends to not happen. You don't see some of the greatest coaches don't have teams that lead the nation and fumbles. So we know that's an issue. He's got to shore that up, but he's here for another year. So, to the comment about at this point in time, I kind of forgot the comment. He was worried about fumbles. One guy was worried about penalties or Pittman's answer to that. Yeah. I just think that I think it's so multi-layered. I think he's trying to address it. I think that he needs to work on the way that he addresses questions with the media. That's for sure.
Yeah, and you are right. And this is the thing. He probably doesn't feel the need to take his time to go through. Well, it's funny you ask that because we do drill this every single day, but right. He's not going to go through all that. He doesn't feel the need to go through that, and that's kind of throwing your guys under the bus too. So it could go either way. Right. My thing is, if you can't hold on to the ball, get your ass out the game. Right. Now, I noticed that didn't happen a lot because I feel like maybe they don't have a lot of other options, but still, it's all about the ball. If you can't protect the ball, you can't be on the field, period. Mm-hmm. To address the penalties thing, when you get these pre-snap penalties, I think that's just players at the moment thinking too much. I remember Dre, our tight end, jumped off sides, and you can tell the way he came off the ball, he was thinking, I got to get this, I got to get this, I got to get this. And the first hint of something, he just jumped, and it comes more confident players who understand what's going on. They're aware of the defense. They know the snap count. It's not overwhelming for them, so their brain really isn't just ticking. And then that kind of takes away from the pre-snap penalties. But pre-snap penalties, yes, it is a direct relation to not being prepared. That falls on coaches and players. But at the same time, they're trying to treat these guys like professionals and grown men, and they don't want to have to hold their hand all the time. And so it comes with them also needing to get on that ship too. But that's the same thing too. If you got a guy or whoever that continues to have some bad holding calls, every once in a while it's going to happen, but unacceptable holding calls and jumping off sides and having these pre-snap penalties, get your ass off the field. It's just those type of things. But like I said, when it comes to our roster and our depth, I'm not sure how we're sitting right there. I would love to say we got guys who can come in and at least not hurt the team in that way, but maybe we don't. And so that's another thing when it comes to coaching. Let's get to another comment real quick. This will be, just sit back, buckle up, and wait because the portal's about to get serious, y'all. Let's get this one to Ray Hall, 9485. opportunity is important for every player and everyone to receive. In my opinion, Malachi was never given one. No reps with the first team, no official starts to prep as a starter, to sit behind Taylor Green and go through every turnover and excuse not to play him for another season is delusional. I want to see him play. Good luck, Malachi. Go earn, I'm assuming, your spot. The text goes on. This is going to be a real thing, and there are a few times this year that I was surprised that Malachi didn't get a little bit more action. Yeah. I know when you got your guy and you want to move forward with them, you have to, ride or die. And when things get shaky, you just can't instantly pull them. But I do believe there was a point where enough had happened for it to. When I was going through a slump at Arkansas, they set me down and started Chris Gregg. I was playing bad football, pre-snap penalties. Just mine wasn't right. And, boy, that got me back right. Now, it wasn't just like a mental thing. I mean, Chris had his opportunity and, had a couple mistakes here or there. Then I got back in the game, and then I made sure I didn't mess up again. Right. I don't feel like that ever happened. And I hate that it didn't. The only times it happened was due to an injury or us just being so far ahead or so far behind. But just a legit opportunity to compete with the ones that only happened at Tennessee when Talon got hurt. This is going to tap into a space, Josh, where do you think NIL and how much they're paying these guys plays a factor into that? Because I know that some of the people responsible for, let's just say, Talon's NIL money, I feel like they know a little too much. Conversations that are had before the game about this is what they're going to do this week. I'm like, how the hell do you even know that? One. Two, why do you know that? And I think some of these guys that pay a lot of money, they want that type of access. And I don't think that's for them. If you want to support the team and financially help pay these players with their NIL deals, be happy with it. But I think that crosses a line into having a little bit too much influence and too much access into this program. And I'm hoping the case is, hey, I spent a lot of money on this guy. I need you to give him more of a look. I hope that's not the case, Josh.
I'm about to say, were you making the argument that you believe that behind the scenes they might be having conversations where the people that are funding the NIL are putting pressure on coaches about playing time?
No, I wouldn't say necessarily pressure, but I hope it's just not understood like, hey, we paid this guy a lot of money. We got to make sure we got to get stuff out of him. I hope that's not the case. And if it is, that's a whole issue in its own. And I know me saying that is going to spark it up, and people can twist this and write it any way that they want. I'm not saying that. I just know that some of these donors just know a little too much for my liking.
Well, DJ, you know what it's like in the NFL. Hell, you spent half a decade there. It's when owners of teams pay a player, donors, owners,
they want them to play.
They want them to play, and they'll put pressure on a coach and the way that he coaches that team based on what they're invested in that particular player. They want their money out of that. So I know that there's that in the NFL world. So why would there not be that now that you've basically recreated a very similar situation in college now? So
it's just a bold move, Josh, and especially if you got a guy committing that much money to a much needed NIL fund, which we struggle with. And then you have a couple of people who are giving generously, and then they give all this money for this one player and he doesn't even play, right. And I'm, like I said, I'm not saying that's the case, but in the NFL, it's happened all the time. Matt Flynn, backup quarterback at Green Bay, signed a $36 million contract to go be the starter over there at Seattle. And in camp, they drafted a guy in the third round maybe in the fourth round, named Russell Wilson. All right. Yep. Came in, took his spot. Pete Carroll was just like, competition. I know we just paid this guy everything, but good for you for getting your money, but I'm going to put the best player out there. Now, I'm not saying that's not Talon. I'm not saying that's what's going on. I just agree sometimes where I feel like maybe Malachi could have got a nod here or there. So I understand why he's leaving. And a lot of that too, Josh, sorry to keep rambling on.
Go ahead.
Is he doesn't leave unless he knows for sure conversations have had that, hey, Talon, just let you know, we're going to run it back. And from Malachi's perspective, he's just like, I just
Can't
want
get
a
on the
shot.
field.
And I
Right.
don't think he has any animosity towards the program. I think he's the ultimate team player. Every time Talon did great on the sideline, Malachi was right there to celebrate him. And you can do that and be proud of your team and do all this, but the window of opportunity to play beyond college football is not very big for a lot of players, and he just wants his opportunity to make it to the next level and show people what he's got. I get it.
Yeah, I get it too. I think that there was a moment in that Louisiana Tech game where, like first quarter, I think, where we just hadn't really done anything against Louisiana Tech. We were going, what the heck's going on here? I think at halftime we even talked about it, like, you know, kind of starting to go, well, maybe we get Malachi in there, see if he can drum something up and get the offense moving. And those opportunities didn't come to him in situations like that. And, you know, here's the whole NIL thing, because we always talk about like players and, you know, getting offers from other schools or the transfer portal and leaving and not being dedicated and all this kind of stuff. But there's a couple of things you got to think about. Number one, you know, they have a limited amount of time that they have eligibility. And if they stick with a program, a kid who's good enough, like, okay, for instance, if I'm at University of Arkansas, I'm not going to the NFL, right? So I might as well be dedicated. But for a guy who can potentially go and provide for his family and play on Sundays one day, a guy who that's in the cards for him if he really does well, he needs to find a way to get on the field. That's just the truth. He needs to find a way to get on the field. And a lot of times you have guys that do what you did, where you didn't go to Ole Miss and you stayed at Arkansas and it all panned out for you. But then there's situations where you're a quarterback like Malachi and that might not pan out for you due to a lot of different situations, whatever it is. Some of which we're talking about with NIL, maybe with Taylor Green, and we don't know that, but we're just speculating. So there's that aspect to the situation that, you know, you've got to think about. If you're that kid, you've only got a limited amount of time and you want to play, and you got to put together this film so that NFL scouts can even see it. The other thing is that there is money to be made right now. And when you are a Malachi, you want to capitalize and make the most of this opportunity for you in college sports right now. So, you know, if there's another school that's going to be able to not only give you playing time and allow you to have film so NFL scouts can decide whether you're worthy to play on Sunday and give you the chance during your small window of opportunity, you have to take that seriously. And if they're putting money behind it, well, hey, look, sounds like you got a Taylor Green situation at another college potentially where you're going to be guaranteed some playing time, if that's the way this whole situation works. Now, from a coaching perspective, I just thought about this yesterday. If I'm Sam Pittman, you're Sam Pittman, Bobby Petrino, and we think, wow, we really do have Malachi set up to be the future quarterback at the University of Arkansas. This is great. What's the thing that you would be doing, or what would you not want to do right now that you used to want to do before NIL? Before NIL, it'd be like, hey, let's get him out there, let's get him ready, let's show him off, let's get him reps and get him ready. Now, with NIL and transfer portal options, you get him out there, you're trotting him out on the field, showcasing his skill set to the world when you're really trying to, you know, hold him back and get him to be a backup quarterback for 1 or 2 more years. All you've done is showcase his skill sets by putting him out there on the field against Louisiana Tech, against Tennessee, against Ole Miss, just for other schools to come in, undercut you. He gets to transfer. There's no year to sit out, and you've lost your next future quarterback. So there's a balancing act that you have to play almost as a coach. It's like, all right, I got this guy. I want to keep him ready. I got to keep him here, you know, I guess for as long as Taylor Green is gone. So I don't want to play him just for another school to take him. I mean, you'd have to think that might play into it a little bit as well. Because if you put him out there, he's going to get recruited, especially if he's good.
And I just listen. You know the simple way to do it: earn it in practice. When your opportunity comes up, it's yours until you do stuff to lose it. And if you do enough stuff to where you keep on making the same mistakes and all this, give somebody else the other shot. Period. I think that's just the easiest way to do it. And that takes all the politics out of it. And I think that creates a culture of best player plays. You know who was great at that? Bill Belichick at New England. He didn't care who you were. Best player plays. And it makes people really put in that work because they know they're going to get paid off. But you talked about guys transferring. I mean, and like I said, we're not saying Talon isn't good. Like, I still think that last drive against Missouri, like Talon's making all these throws. I'm like, where's this dude been all year? Throwing dimes, getting the ball out fast, on time. We'll see. I guess we'll know that. I guess we're going to see what year 2 looks like because it's coming.
Man, it's going to be real hard. It's going to be real hard in college football from now on, keeping high-level talent in depth.
And this isn't new. I mean, look at the Heisman winner, Joe Burrow. I mean, he started at Ohio State, and the quarterback room there was filthy. J.T. Barrett. He had Dwayne Haskins, I think. I mean, 3 of the top quarterbacks in all of college football, all in one quarterback room. I mean, Baker Mayfield transferred, Kyler Murray transfers, and they're sitting behind great players. Jalen Hurts transferring. I mean, this ain't new, all right? So it's happened all the time, and it just happens more, I think, at the quarterback position because once you get a starter, if you got 2 guys who are just a year apart, that's 3-4 years you're going to be sitting, and you maybe don't have time for that. So I get that. To me, Josh, it's going to be more about the other positions on the football field, about guys that we need to make sure that if they're curious and they're sniffing around, because I do think that guys who want to play in the next level, this is a truth. You have a better chance getting drafted if you're on a winning team, because usually winning teams have the good players, and they know that. And I know opportunities weren't what they were this year for a few players on the team. I know they want to do much more, and that's from top to bottom. So I expect this week. I would expect next week after the conference championships, when all kind of the coaching carousels kind of get, slowed down a little bit, because this is when you're going to see big coaching changes, coordinators, all this stuff, people entering portal, people going to the draft, who's going to be around, because there's a window for these guys to make their mind up, and the window is now. And so I'm very curious to see what happens in these next 2 weeks, but I think Arkansas could be in some trouble. I really do, and I hate that because I'm just trying to figure out if you got guys. I mean, think about it last year. Our captains on our team, all of them are gone, and they all still were playing college football somewhere else. Man, that's just not a good culture to me, Josh, and I don't really know how to fix that. I really don't.
Well, Matt, I was talking to Matt Harris earlier this week, and he said you have to be a portal school that builds culture, because if you play the portal right in this new era and you have a coach that leads with this culture first mentality, you're going to be able to at least stick a couple of the guys that you need to be successful in this era. But you can't have one without the other, and they both have to go into play, because you're going to get some guys on that roster who are culture guys. No, I want to play. I'm going to play for this organization. I want to play for the Razorbacks. And you're going to have some guys that go, you know what, I can transfer and I will, because I want to play, or I'm getting money. KJ Jefferson's, a guy who set records here. Not to. That's just the reality. He set records here. Everybody can have their own opinion of KJ, but on the record books, he's at the top. And he left for what, $100,000 more, $50,000 more and went down to UCF, and he got benched. So clearly there's coaches out there that don't care about the pressure. And KJ Jefferson, let this be a moment for everyone, caution to everyone that wants to enter the portal. A guy like KJ Jefferson went from potentially staying here and being Bobby's guy rather than us bringing in Taylor Green after that. Learning from him, having a top 10 offense, a lot of yards under him versus what he's done now at UCF, and getting a free agent call to an NFL team versus now. He'll probably get a call. He'll probably get a mini camp. He's a big dude. He's a body. I think he'll get a mini camp. I think he'll get a free agent signing, but he could have bought himself a year or 2 on practice squad, I think, staying at Arkansas. And I don't think that that's going to happen anymore. And that's unfortunate.
What you trying to say? Grass ain't always greener?
It ain't always greener, man. And that's something you got to think about. No, it's something you got to think about. You get yourself into a bad situation just leaving for a little bit of extra cash, because what I think you just did is passed up on some practice squad money in the NFL by not staying here with Bobby Petrino. That's just my opinion. But, it is what it is.
I think like I said, the next 2 weeks we're going to be able to have a really good episode, because that's when things are really going to shake out. It's kind of hard to give an opinion of what's next. Obviously, bowl game, see what we're going to get. But what's next after that, just because we don't know what pieces will be in place. Fan base, if you will, please leave comments when it comes to how do you feel right now about the University of Arkansas. I know heading into this season there was excitement about a lot of players. We got this great quarterback coming in from Boise. We got a great running back coming in Jaquindon Jackson. We got Bobby Petrino back. We got all these pieces in place. and there was excitement. People were ready to get going. Right now, I'm trying to think what needs to happen in the offseason to get that back. Because if things stay the course as they are right now, I don't see a very happy fan base. And it's going to take ultimately winning to change that perspective, which it should be in the first place, So
I think a couple of things here. I think Jaquindon Jackson having success here at running back let all the other running backs in the portal know that I can be a running back and have success at the University of Arkansas. I think that we've got a really good freshman running back coming back at the running back position. So I think our running back position will handle itself over the course of this next year. I think that our offense actually producing really good numbers, coming up short when it comes to actually scoring touchdowns and the fumble issue. I think that there's a lot of offensive linemen out there that are going to go, man, I could go play for that. We could go really do something. I think Armstrong's success as a wide receiver is going to tell a lot of guys that are talented out there that Arkansas is an option for me to go get yards. So I think that offensively, those pieces in the portal will come into play. I think we're at a better position in the portal this year than we were last year. So I think that our offense is more attractive to and proven to potential offensive pieces that are in the portal right now. With Taylor Green coming back as a second-year guy, I think that gives a lot of pieces around him more confidence that, hey, look, I'm not dealing with a first-year quarterback if I go there too. I'm dealing with a guy that's going to be better than he was this year. And he didn't do bad as far as the stat sheet is concerned. So I'm excited to see what happens. A lot of stuff is going to shake out during this offseason, obviously, over this bowl as we get closer to the bowl game. But I think we're in a better position than we were last year.
I'm trying to decide how I feel about you saying this team is more attractive right now for a portal situation than last year. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Let me think about that for a couple of days.
Mm-hmm. Think about it, man.
I'm torn. I'm torn. I don't know. I'm torn.
I mean, given the state of the Hogs right now, with Bobby Petrino staying, Travis Williams staying, as is, I think that there's more confidence in it than there was, on we have 4 wins last year. Come on.
Yeah, you're right. I agree. I do agree. Are we attractive enough to overcome where we lack in NIL? Now, like I said, things will change with this revenue sharing. So we're going to have more cheddar to play with. So we'll see how that plays out. I just hope it goes to the right place. And I really do like the fact that somebody like Stanford hired somebody to come in and be a GM now for a college football team to make sure the money is going to the right people. And right now, who needs to be paid at the University of Arkansas are big boys up front. Gotta have it. You can have all the talent at quarterback and receiver in the country, but if you don't have guys who can handle it up front to where it all gets started, it's pointless. And so they need to do a better job about acquiring that type of talent first, and that's where a lot of that money needs to go. But no, I think it's interesting, and I like the development now of these GMs but the most important thing, if Arkansas go down to that route, they need to make sure they do a really good job of hiring somebody who can evaluate talent. You got to have somebody who has an eye and he can see, okay, I see this guy. He was great in high school. He's great this place. I don't know how that'll transition over here. I'm a little iffy on this guy. We need to see other guys who can see, hey, this dude is him. I mean, I've seen it so many different times, Josh. There are people out there who have this ability to really sort out talent. That's why these guys get paid millions of dollars to be head scouts in the NFL, because they see it. And so hopefully Arkansas gets somebody like that in the tank, because sometimes I've seen some people I don't know. All right, I'm just going to leave it at that.
Our director of recruiting, Butler Benton, who was here a few years ago, he left us to Notre Dame. He ends up now at UCLA as a general manager there over recruiting as well. So, and NIL, I guess. I don't know what all the GM's responsibilities are, but we've had guys in that role that I thought brought in some good talent. And I think that we can find that again. And I'm excited to see what happens. I like the shift though. If we're gonna be paying players, then we might as well have GMs. We might as well. So let's just go. Let's just go ahead and get into it. Stop fighting NIL and let's get serious with it.
Yeah, and I need that GM to have some pull. Yeah. And I need that GM to be able to have conversations with coaches and be like, trust me and let me do my job.
You got anybody in mind?
Do this. I have no idea. I just hope it's somebody who, like I said, can evaluate talent and be bold and understand their position as a GM. Kind of reminds me of we talked about this today on the Buzz. That scene from Moneyball. Justin, my co-host on the Buzz, he brought it up when the Billy Bean, who was played by Brad Pitt, he wanted to start Hatterberg at first base, but the coach wanted to start Pena at first base. And he says, I'm really trying to do something. I really need you to start Hatterberg at first base. And he says, well, as long as I'm the coach, we're going to start Pena. He came down in his office before the game, and he says, just letting you know, Pena's not starting at first base. And he says, we've already had this discussion. He says, no, Pena's not starting at first base because I just traded him. So you can't start him at first base. So that's what I'm saying. It'd be nice to have somebody, but you have to trust this guy, and they have to know what they're doing, and they have to be able to evaluate talent, and they have to be fair, that they need to be able to make these decisions of making sure that money goes to the right places to build this team the right way. Because, I mean, look at KJ Jefferson. We gave him all that money, and he has a C on his chest for another team. So you got to be careful about how you spend it and where you spend it. Josh, it's been fun. That's probably the longest viewer comment that we've had today. But like I said, it's going to be spiraling, and there's going to be plenty to talk about, and I want our viewers to be involved. So please leave comments, and we'll try to get through most of them. And this is weird because now Arkansas is not playing another game until the bowl game. So let's pump out a few more of these. I think these are fun. There'll be plenty to talk about. So y'all send in your questions, and we'll try to get through them, and we'll have a couple episodes of our viewer comments. They just engage the conversation. I'm hoping we do these live one day, and we can have our viewers meet us out live and be a part of the conversation. I think that'd be awesome. Josh, have a good one, my friend.
You too, brother. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Yep.